Alright, this is Project Elvira. Just wanted to show what it's going to take to fit up a ZRX1100 swing arm to a 1980 KZ650 frame. The book specifies that the pivot point for the swing arm on the frame is 9 and a quarter inches. The width of the ZRX1100 swing arm pivot is 9 3/8 inches, which means there is 1/8 of an inch that needs to come off in order to make the swing arm fit. However, if you look down here, on the end of the swing arm pivot tube, we have a seal and a spacer tube. On the other side, we have a cup and a seal, and of course the spacer tube there, and there's a bearing here and a bearing here. Those bearings are pressed in and you can move them, but if you do, you risk the possibility of destroying or damaging them. Right now these bearings are in perfect working order. I don't want to disrupt them, and to be honest, there's no need to, because if you look here on the inside of the frame, here and here, you'll see the place where the pivot axle goes through has a protrusion into the inside of the frame of over 1/4 inch on each side. Now for the original swing arm over here, that was necessary in order to ensure clearance on the ends for the seals and to make sure that the swing arm cleared the inside of the frame well enough to allow for the linkage to the rear drum brake, etc., etc. However, that's not necessary on the new swing arm. So, right here. When you set the swing arm into where it needs to fit, you can see the clearance issue is, you're literally talking about 1 millimeter on each side, maybe just a tiny more on each side. Rather than take that off of the swing arm, I will clearance the inside of the frame so that I don't have to disrupt the swing arm bearings and swing arm seals. I'll open that gap up from 9 1/4 inches to 9 3/8 inches to allow the swing arm to fit. The other challenge in fitting the ZRX1100 swing arm to the KZ650 frame is this is the original swing arm pivot axle or pivot shaft, and it is 16 millimeters in diameter. This is the new ZRX pivot shaft, and it's 20 millimeters in diameter. If you look on the frame here, where the pivot shaft needs to go through, it's designed for the 16 millimeter pivot shaft. Now, some guys will open that up to 20 millimeters by drilling it out to allow for the larger pivot shaft. But if you look at the wall thickness on that tubing, it's not very thick to begin with, and that is a major stress point on the frame. So drilling it out will weaken that area to the point where you could have frame cracking. You could have a weakness at that point where it would cause the swing arm to move around because there's not enough strength in this area. So rather than drill this out, what I'll do is I will have a machine shop create an adapter sleeve to go inside the swing arm that has an outside diameter of 20 millimeters and an inside diameter of 16 millimeters. And it'll fit inside the swing arm pivot tube so that I can use the original KZ650 pivot shaft.